Thank you, Becky. Okay, so that's good that we started on time. So to start with, if you don't have the book with you, let's see, get back there a bit. It doesn't matter because I'm going to read this story. And what I've done is I've got my favorite picture of Jesus here. Sometimes it's Jesus and sometimes it's the Holy Shroud. So I've kind of got my sacred items around me for the talk and my mala beads. And so if there's anything you want to grab, a candle or incense or whatever, you can do so. And I just want to talk for a couple of minutes about the book to set the tone of how this letter came to be. So lots of you know this, but in case you don't, it's just nice to cover it. So the book is based on letters that were written from our great yoga masters of the past to my teacher, Dr. Hari Dickman. And he, I don't know how he found all these yogis in 1929, 30 and whatnot prior to that, but he would find them and write letters, and he lived in Latvia at the time. And then they would write back techniques to him in his practices of yoga. So there are 750 letters over a 49-year span. And the book is based on a lot of those, but not all of those. So my default was the letters that we studied together, Hari and I. And then from there, others that as I was researching what to include in the book, they just seemed like they needed to go in. So most of the book is a little bit history and then techniques, but this chapter 9 is where this letter resides about Jesus as a yogi. And this section, I called it Delicious Stories, because as I was researching in the book, there is no way that I wanted to leave these out, but they weren't techniques, right? They just were stories. And some of these yogis just wrote wonderful stories to him. So if you haven't read the book, or you have read the book, my way of reading the book and writing the book was, here's a little bit of history, here's the techniques, and here's some great stories, and then appendices and a glossary. So it isn't necessarily a book to read cover to cover. You can jump around in it. And if you get tired of looking at techniques, go read a fun story. And then you can go back. And so that kind of puts the context into it. I just want to say, my heart is really warmed with the interest in this satsang. I didn't know how many people would sign up, but there are over 60 people who have signed up. So that's pretty cool that we have a nice group who has this much interest in this topic. And so I just want to thank you all for making the time and the energy and the effort to be here with me. I'm just so pleased. It warms my heart to be able to share anything that Hari shared with me. Okay, so this particular story that I wanted to share with you, when I was with, and the chapter talks about this, but I'm not going to read that, I'll just talk about it. When I was with Hari in the 70s, this was really secret. He said, I'm going to share this letter with you, but it's a bit controversial, Jesus as a yogi. And so back then, it was really quite controversial to even think of that. And as I had studied yoga, I was quite challenged a little bit and created doubts from different religious pathways. Christian pathways with good reason, because if they don't understand something, and yoga was pretty uncommon back then, well, then it creates a fear and a concern. And so for myself, my way of dealing with that was to go to Bible studies, because I didn't want to have any doubts. If I was going down this path so seriously, I wanted to know why there was concern. And so I went to about 5 different churches, and each one was studying a different book in the Bible, and they were all at different times. It was perfect time in my life that I could go and attend these, and I loved it. One of the things in my childhood, I couldn't really relate to Jesus when I went to church, because it just didn't make sense to me that only people who knew Jesus could go to heaven or know God. It just didn't make sense to me as a child. And so I didn't have really any feeling about it. It was just homework to study. But when I went to the ashram with Swami Vishnudevananda's ashram, on the altar were various different deities, and there was Buddha and Krishna and Jesus and different representations of different pathways, as well as invitations for speakers to come from the Anglican Church or the Baha'i, and different opportunities to have unity and share in the pathways to know God. So for me, that made way more sense. Okay, now I can kind of get to know Jesus and know that it's okay in and amongst all of the other representatives of the divine. And that really, really helped me. So when I was doing these Bible studies, I was so excited about learning more. And through the process, I really came to feel that there were no conflicts. The more I studied, the more I realized we were all talking the same language, had the same goals, just a different perspective about it. And I was very welcomed in all of the groups that I went to. And so that took away my doubts, and I felt, okay, I can go on this pathway of yoga. And Swami Shivananda, we were looking at this today, who really did the quote, "The paths are many, but the truth is one." And we, meaning Bonnie, who's been visiting here, we came to first it said Mahatma Gandhi, but then it said that it really comes from the Rig Veda. So ancient texts in how it was said, and then the phrases came out. And I can share with you that after. There's a couple of links that I can share later on after the discussion. And as we go through this. So the paths are many and the truth is one. And if you don't relate to one path, it's very difficult to follow it. So that freedom to find what speaks to your soul, speaks to your heart, opens you up to seeking deeper wisdom and deeper knowledge about your spiritual being, yourself. So I just wanted to set that tone there. One of the things that in my studies, in the Bible studies, it said that Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father but through me." And what was interesting in my yoga studies is Krishna says very much the same thing. And I talk about this in the book here. So that kind of also establishes for me part of this was Jesus a yogi? And did he go to India? And I'll clarify that a little more after. Okay, so coming into this story of Jesus as a yogi, what I need to clarify on this is there's no proof. So there's no proof that any of what is in here exists. There's also no proof that it doesn't. So for me, this discussion is to entertain this knowledge that was shared with Hari. And if you Google and go on to YouTube about these scriptures, you will find both YouTube things that say, yes, this is real, and you will find stuff that says, no, there's no proof. So it really isn't the point for me. The point is to share this wonderful story about Jesus and his crucifixion and a different take on it. So, any questions so far? No? Okay, I'm going to check my phone one more time here, and then I'm going to flip it so that it won't do anything. Okay. And one message there, and we are good. Okay. Okay. So on page 229 of the book, this man named Mahant Digvijay Nath wrote this letter in 1963 to Hari. He wanted to share this story of the Indo-Christian legend by Surat Kumar Sarkar. And so it's a wonderful story. And I thought I would just read it, and then I will interject certain things. And then we will have a little bit of extra discussion after, if you have questions and thoughts and meditation. It is indeed very strange that we hear nothing about Jesus Christ from his 13th year till his 30th year. The Bible is unfortunately silent. One therefore naturally asks where he was these 17 years and how he spent this time. It is interesting to note that some rare Hindu and Buddhist Shastras record the interesting belief that he was in India and spent those 17 years in this country. This is corroborated by the Natha Namabali, a very old manuscript, dearly and zealously preserved by a section of Natha yogis. In this book, it is also said that after his resurrection, he came to India again and did a good deal for the welfare of the yogis. So the Natha yogis, their pathway combines Buddhism, Shaivism, which is worship of Shiva, and Hatha yoga. So they were early on Hatha yogis. And anyone who was a Natha yogi, their name ended in Nath. So Digvijay Nath. Long before the birth of Christ, there was a class of saints in Palestine who were almost like the Hindu yogis. They were called Essenes. Arthur Lilly writes in his India in Primitive Christianity that Jesus was an Essene, and the Essenes, like the Indian yogis, sought to obtain divine union and the gifts of the Spirit by solitary reverie in retired spots. Essene is the foreign pronunciation of the Indian name Ishani. Ishani is Shiva. Ishani, or Essene, is the worshipper of Ishana, or Shiva. So just a note here on the comment where it says that the Essenes had a solitary life. They were in retired spots. So that brought to my mind when investigating, is this real or not? A lot of, if there were a lot of people coming to see if these scriptures were valid or still there, after a while, these reclusive people might get tired of it and just say, no, they're not here. So that's a possibility too. Everything is a possibility. Okay. John the Baptist. In their modes of worship, the Essenes and the yogis of the Nata community were very much alike. John the Baptist was an Essene. He, along with the other great yogis of the Nata community, is held in high esteem in certain sections of the community. Even in the remotest part of Bengal, where no missionary has ever set foot, John the Baptist is still the subject of many folk songs. John baptized Jesus. Ernest Renan, the famous author, has written, "The Essenes resembled the gurus, the spiritual masters of Brahmanism." Jesus was initiated into the Indian yoga form of religion. To gain more knowledge of the subject, he came to India. This is related in a very old manuscript preserved in a temple at Maribor, a very inaccessible region of Tibet. A copy of the manuscript can be found at Himas Temple, situated on the frontier of India and Tibet. Some years back, a Russian tourist named Dr. Natovich slipped from a hill near Himas and was severely wounded. The kind lamas took him to Himas Temple. Here he happened to learn from the lamas that a very important book on Jesus Christ was in their possession. He borrowed the book from them and translated it into English. On the basis of this translation, he later wrote a book called The Unknown Life of Jesus in America. The American government thought that there were passages in that book that were uncharitable attacks on the Christian community. The book was therefore banned. Now, you can find this book in a PDF format, and I'll send you a link to that in case you're interested. The translation. The original book at Maribor is written in Pali, whereas the book of Himas Temple is in the Tibetan translation. From its pages, we learn that Jesus came to India at the age of 13. Swami Abhedananda of the Ramakrishna Vedanta Society has himself seen the book and translated a portion of it. Swami Abhedananda and the Tibetan lamas are of opinion that the book was written some 3 or 4 years after the crucifixion. There are 14 chapters and 244 shlokas in this book. Jesus has been called Isha. Philologists tell us how Jesus of Palestine came to be Isha in India. The Hebrew name Jeshua is of Greek Isoas, and in India it is Ishai or Isha. So Swami Abhedananda was a disciple of Ramakrishna who was sent to run the Vedanta Society in New York City, but he traveled to Tibet and went there to study Buddhism, and so that's kind of a connection there of how he came to this. A summary of the translation is as follows. Isha attained his 13th year. Admiring his knowledge and learning, most of the rich folks and the kulinas of the country became eager to give their daughters in marriage to him, but Isha had no mind to marry. At the talk of marriage, he left his father's home. He became desirous of attaining perfection by acquiring all the merits which the former Buddha had attained. He started for Sind with some merchants, and at the age of 14, he arrived at the land of the Aryans. So I want to clarify the Aryans. They were more commonly called Indo-Aryans, and they migrated to India around 2000 to 1500 BCE. And they introduced the Vedic religion, and that was the precursor to Hinduism. And they had a great knowledge of the Vedic Sanskrit language. So that's who the Aryans were. The Jains were very much attracted by his sober figure and requested him to live with them. He did not accede to these requests and did not wish for anybody's favor. So the Jains are a religion of strict nonviolence. They put animals and plants and humans all in the same category as equals. And so strict nonviolence and vegetarianism. Afterwards, he arrived at Jagannatha Dhamma in Puri and became a disciple of the Brahmanas and learned the Vedas and the Shastras. Then for 6 years he traveled in the holy places such as Rajagriha, Benares, etc., and came to Kapilavastu. With the Buddhist monks, he read the Buddhist scriptures for 6 years. From there he traveled in Nepal and the Himalayas and then returned to Persia. He was now 29. On attaining his 30th year, he returned to his own land and began to preach his message of peace and goodwill to his oppressed relatives. Son of God. Jesus was well acquainted with the teachings of the Vedas, and from these he got the justification for calling himself the Son of God. It is not proclaimed in the Vedas that all men and all gods are the sons of God. And there's a question mark from the author. Amritasya Putra, is that the person that's quoted that? I'm not sure. Nat Namavali. The Nata yogis possess a very old manuscript called Nata Namavali. In this manuscript is found the following. Jesus came to India at the age of 14 and after long 16 years prayer was enabled to see Shiva, the great Lord, or the great God. After that, he went to his native land and began to speak about God among his countrymen. But many of his countrymen were of materialistic temperament and they could not bear this light of knowledge. They conspired against Ishanat, Jesus, and tortured him by driving nails onto his hands and feet. Ishanat, who saw God, went into samadhi by means of yoga. He did it for the welfare of the 3 worlds. The brutes thought him to be dead and put him in the grave. When Ishanat was crucified, one of his gurus, the great Chaitanya, was in deep meditation in the vicinity of the lower regions of the Himalayas. Through meditation, he came to know of the tortures practiced upon Ishanat, and making his body lighter than air, in 3 days he crossed to the land of the Israelites. Here in a forest he assumed his real form. It was a rough day. And there was thunder and rain because the gods were very angry and the world shook. He cared not for these and raised the body of Ishanat from his grave and broke his samadhi. After that, both of them returned to the holy land of the Aryas and established a mat in the lower regions of the Himalayas. At the end of the 3 years of meditation and worship, here the all-merciful Shankara kindly saw him again and gave out that Ishanat should explain to the world all the mysteries of the creation. Accordingly, Ishanat placed the trident of Shankara, which was the emblem of Shankara's knowledge, power, and force, on the Yoni Pita of Shankara, the goddess Durga, and introduced the puja called the Yoni Lingam Shiva Puja. Then holy men of all parts came to show respect to him. He left his mortal body through yoga at the age of 49 in the mat established by him. The manuscript Nat Namavali, though very rare, is neither unavailable nor a myth. I myself have seen a copy recently, and the late Vijay Krishna Goswami also had the opportunity to read a copy of the same. The book may be found among the sannyasis of the Natha Yogi community. It contains 17 more biographies of great men of the Natha community over and above the biography of Jesus Christ here described. And I can also send you a link to the manuscript, the Nath Namavali. It's available in Kindle format, and it's called The Fifth Gospel. So I'll send a link for that as well. So that is the letter or story shared with Hari there. I have a little bit more here, but I just wanted to pause and ask if anybody had any questions or wanted to say anything or share anything before I share that. Yes, Senna, can you unmute yourself? There.
Yes. Namaste, everyone, and thank you, Mug, so much for doing this. Much love to you.
Oh, thank you.
I was in Kashmir in 1970 and was taken to these special gardens where they said Jesus was. So we know for sure that Jesus was in Kashmir. They have, they all believe it. It's in their scriptures and everything. And also there was a place, very nondescript, very simple place, where they said, like, after he was crucified and brought back, he spent a lot of time in Kashmir. The Kashmir Valley is exceptionally beautiful, and the pristine energy there as well. And it said that he was actually buried there as well, or his energy was really strong. He did teachings there. So, and I find it really interesting that in Bengal too, there's interesting things about that, because I also, lived in West Bengal for quite a while too. And yeah, you go to certain areas where the energy is really powerful, and that's when you know a yogi or yogini has been prevalent there for a long time. So his essence is definitely strong in India, and they 100% believe that he was there. There's no doubt at all. So it's only we Westerners that have this questioning mind all the time. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents worth in, and thank you so much, Muggs.
Oh, thank you. And they hold him in such high esteem, right? It was just such a pleasure that in India that he is so highly regarded. It just is wonderful.
Well, he's an avatar. He's considered an avatar. So they don't question that at all.
No, not at all. Yeah, he's right up there with Krishna and Buddha, and one that is informed to help us find the way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zena. That's so awesome. I'm glad you shared that with us. Anyone else have thoughts or anything they wanted to ask or share? Thank you for the heart. No? Okay. Anytime. Jump in. I'm going to read a little bit more here and share just a bit more. So today there are many books and articles about Christ as a yogi. It's a fascinating link between East and West, leaving us with much to ponder and meditate on. Since yoga was here long before Christ, it does not seem unfathomable for Christ to have learned this ancient practice that guides us to know God within. Not at all. When we study the masters of all the pathways, we cannot help but notice how they were all teaching the same thing, how to know God within. And there are many parallel teachings from the yoga masters and Jesus. So I mentioned one in the beginning about the Bhagavad Gita and Krishna and Jesus. So I'm going to jump to that one. In John 14, verses 6 to 20, there is a conversation between Jesus and his disciples. And he says, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. If you had known me, you would have known my Father also. Henceforth, you know him and have seen him. Philip said to him, Lord, show us the Father, and we shall be satisfied. And Jesus said to him, have I been with you so long, and yet you do not know me, Philip? He who has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, show us the Father? Do you not believe that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me? The words that I say to you, I do not speak on my own authority, but the Father who dwells in me does his works. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me, or else believe me for the sake of the works themselves. And Jesus was known for talking in parables, and people had to really ponder this. It's like the Indian scriptures. They just give you the sutra, the thread, right? And then the rest is the pondering, the teaching, the comprehension. Okay. Even in the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it neither sees him nor knows him, you know him. This is Jesus still talking to the disciples. For he dwells with you and will be in you. I will not leave you desolate. I will come to you. Yet a little while, and the world will see me no more. But you will see me, because I live, you will live also. Because I live, you will live also. In that day, you know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. So these verses speak to me of God the divine within. And this divinity is within us all. It's our work to uncover this, to reveal it to ourselves, to have the faith. And so Krishna, who is widely worshipped in Hinduism and is said to have been God in human form, who came to the earth to help the people, didn't have any karma to work out, just came to help the people. In chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita, which is a text from before Christian era, or common era, I guess they call it now, Krishna speaks to Arjuna, the son of the Pandava family, who fights for righteousness and is assisting Arjuna as he struggles with the battle of life's challenges. What he says is similar to what Christ says. I will tell thee a supreme mystery, because thy soul has faith. It is vision and wisdom, and when known, thou shalt be free from sin. Now, I don't like the word sin, and I've had some wonderful people over the years of my teaching look up translations of it, and my favorite one is to be broken, right? And so that's repairable. And so, so we've just had a little fall, a little break in faith. And so we shall be free from that brokenness. It is the supreme wisdom and the purification supreme. Seen in a wonder of vision, it is a path of righteousness, very easy to follow, leading to the highest end. But those who have no faith in this truth come not unto me. They return to the cycles of life and death. But the fools of this world know not me when they see me in my own human body. They know not my Spirit supreme, the infinite God of this all. But there are some great souls who know me. Their refuge is my own divine nature. They love me with a oneness of love. They know that I am the source of all. I am the Father of this universe, and even the source of the Father. I am the mother of this universe and the creator of all. I am the highest to be known, the path of purification, the holy Om, the three Vedas. I am the way, and the master who watches in silence, thy friend and thy shelter and thy abode of peace. I am the beginning and the middle and the end of all things, their seed of eternity, their treasure supreme. I am the same to all beings, and my love is ever the same. But those who worship me with devotion, they are in me, and I am in them. So the words of Krishna to Arjuna, and then the words of Christ to his disciples, are just so similar. Just the way that it is shared lets us know that these avatars who came to us in form, in human body, are teaching us all the same thing, the divine is within. You know, be still and know that I am God, right? Like that's a prayer for us, and it's a wonderful, beautiful comparison from the Bhagavad Gita to the book of John. I want to take one step when he talks about the holy Om, because that's another beautiful comparison. And I talk about it in the book here. Let's see, is it any there? No. Okay. So on page 107, I reference the Mandukya Upanishad. So the Upanishads, I consider them to be like the sacred gems of the Vedas. And each of the Upanishads is drawn from one of the four Vedas. And so the Mandukya Upanishad is about Om. And it says, Om is all. Om, the eternal word, is all. What was, what is, and what shall be, and what beyond is in eternity. All is Om. And so when we just look back here at what Krishna said, I am the Holy Om, the Father of the universe, the three Vedas, the middle, the beginning, and the end, the seed of eternity, the teaching supreme. And Om is considered the first manifestation of the divine. And God said, let there be light. So sound is the first manifestation of God, the divinity, and then comes light, and that is teachings that were pointed out to me from Namadeva Acharya, my mantra teacher. So Om is the great mantra, and on that same page 107, Swami Shivananda of Rishikesh said to Hari, Om is not only saying yes, but Om, being a great mantra, pervades the three states of consciousness, and passing beyond two, enables the affirmations to sink into the subconscious, the Karana Sharira, and great willpower is developed. I absolutely love that Om is yes. So positive. And so this vibration of Om, this universal sound, this sound that represents the divine, and in the first book of John it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was. God. And I think, let me just see. I wrote that down somewhere. Let me check. Yeah, it's on page 92. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then the second verse, which I don't have written there, but it says, the same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him. And so in the Upanishad, it says God is all is God. And in the first book of John, they're saying, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, the Word was Om. Om represents God. It's all saying the same thing. So I'm sure there's many more beautiful comparisons like that, but those ones are ones that stand out for me in the teachings of Christ and our great yoga masters and our great yogic texts. So, any thoughts or questions? Doubts? You're allowed doubts, wonderings. For me, this is the time, it's a really sacred time. These studies allowed me to shift from the singularity that Jesus, those who didn't know Jesus would never be able to know God. It opened up this whole world that of the paths are many and the truth is one, and it gave me the ability to grow a relationship with Jesus. And I love Jesus. I love studying his teachings, his words. It's they're beautiful and they're yogic, and this beautiful idea of him using his yogic power of samadhi to be able to go into samadhi when on the cross totally explains how he rose from the dead. You know, there's stories today in India. I remember a few years ago there was a newspaper article of a yogi that had gone into samadhi, and nobody could tell if he was dead or in samadhi, and it was a big debate because there were inheritance to be had. So was he just in samadhi? And so, but this beautiful state of samadhi, his disciples wanted him to be able to overcome the killing, his death, and they were so saddened by this, by what is reflected as the story that he was crucified on the cross and died for us. And by using his yogic powers and going into samadhi, he did achieve that and could carry on and live the rest of his life in India, where he was safe and appreciated because they understood and they didn't fear his power, his siddhis that he had developed. Okay. Megan, please, can you unmute yourself? Thank you.
So I guess I just have more of a general question. I'm not someone who has studied faith before, specifically a form of Christianity. I certainly have a curiosity, especially because of yoga teachings and knowing your history in that. Where would you recommend starting to read about, Jesus? And, is there a better book, so to say, to begin learning?
There's an interesting one in here that I mention, and wait, I'll get back up here. And it's only the book of John, I believe, and it's called Christ the Yogi. Let me find it here. Yeah, it's on page 229 in the first paragraph, and it's by an East Indian man, Ravi Ravindra. And in the book, it's Christ the Yogi, a Hindu reflection on the Gospel of John. And I used this book. I was teaching, talk about breakthroughs over time. I was invited to be a guest speaker for a United Church Women's Weekend Retreat and to share with them yoga. So I used this book to share with them and break down, if possible, barriers toward yoga, but build bridges instead. And he has wonderful comparisons just in the book of John, so it's not too overwhelming at all. And so that's one. Another great person, and you can buy his books or get them from the library, but in almost all of the Christian bookstores. And his name is Anthony DeMello. Anthony DeMello. And he was a Jesuit priest who was also an East Indian. And so he has books like Sadhana, A Way to God, and one that's called Wellsprings, which is all prose. It's wonderful readings that he wrote during his time. And so he really embraced Jesus as a person of Indian origin, East Indian origin, and being a priest. So they're small books, and he uses that terminology of sadhana, but he bridges it into some great loves of Jesus. One other one is Paramahansa Yogananda, because he really embraced Jesus as well. His known book is Autobiography of a Yogi, but there's many small booklets available that share. Oh, here we go. Yeah, yay. Well, you're all set. There you go. Yeah, that's a fascinating book. And he, just since we're on the topic of Yogananda, I mean, he's so dear to my heart because he saved Hari's life. And so I have copies of letters from him when he was Swami Yogananda, before he was Paramahansa Yogananda. And I've got 2 thick file folders of all the letters that he would write to Hari. And when Hari was put into the displaced persons camps during the war, he worked tirelessly, imagine this, sending him care packages and with teaching so that he could teach the other people in the displaced persons camps about yoga. And also food that he wouldn't be able to have, like care gifts like that. But he worked really hard to get him out of there and brought him to United States in 1952. So I can't remember all the years it says it in the appendix, but I think Hari was in those displaced persons camps for at least 5 years. And then finally Yogananda was able to get a passageway for him to come to United States, but they never had met in person. All those years from 2930 until 52, he wrote tirelessly, and they had never met in person. And there's a very strong community of Yogananda disciples in Latvia, where Hari started an underground society, a secret society of Kriya Yoga. And they still practice today. It's very strong today because of that. So Yeah, Yogananda was such a dear person to Hari.
Thank you, Mugs.
You're very welcome. Love those questions. Yeah. An interesting thing, as I say, Hari taught the teachings of Yogananda in this displaced persons camps. And when I was, after I'd written the book, a woman wrote me from Ontario, and her father had been in a camp with Hari. And Hari had taught him yoga. And her name is Banuta Rubes, and she's Latvian. Her father was Latvian, had a Volkswagen company in Ontario after he got out of the DP camps. But she wrote a book about her father being in this camp and the influence of these yogic teachings that helped him survive what they had to go through in these war camps. So there's so many intertwining things like that have occurred because of sharing the teachings. Any other thoughts, questions, or shall we one more chance, or we'll slide into meditation? Okay, I'm going to, where's my chat? I'm going to put a mantra in the chat for you. And it's, oops. Om Shri Yeshu Bhagavate Namaha. Okay, so many of you know, some of you anyway, know Bill Barry and Namadeva Acharya, because he did quite a bit in Alberta and some in BC, leading pujas and mantra workshops. And so one workshop that I did with Bill Barry was on pujas, but particularly mini pujas, because pujas are hours long. And if they're hours long, I'm not likely to do them. So 15, 20 minutes is great. And so Bill Barry, spiritual name is Bharata, a great disciple of Namadeva Acharya, taught me how to do mini pujas and gave me a template on how to do a puja for any one of the deities that I wanted. And so I used this template and created mini pujas for Krishna and Durga and Ganesha and all of them, and also one for Jesus. And so the mantra is the one I've shared with you, Om Shri Yeshu Bhagavate Namaha. That's just a part of the puja. And so Yeshu is a name for Jesus. And Bhagavate means Lord, essentially. You're very welcome. And and Namaha means I honor you, I bow to you. So I thought what we could do is repeat this mantra, just a quarter mala, 27 times, which clears the mind and sets us up for meditation time. And then we can just go into silence, and in that silence we could ponder Jesus and the works that he did. And if you don't know that much about it, he really learned his yogic powers, the siddhis. he could heal those with leprosy and the blind and, wounded legs. And he was a great healer and a great teacher of love and compassion, and to know God within, to know that we are all divine beings. And that is just a wonderful thing to know that we are all divine and we are interconnected. We are so interconnected. This beauty, when they've in the research now, when they understand that all the tree roots in the forest, the trees are talking to each other and feeding each other and nourishing each other through their roots. Well, we have the opportunity to do that above ground, right? We can nourish each other and love each other, and even those that we despise, we can send loving kindness to help them overcome their demons. We don't have to like them, but by using our inner knowledge of the power of thought, every one of us is an important cog in the wheel of the universe. Not one of us can function without the energy of the other. It's super important, and so to not underestimate and to tap into that divinity, that divine power, create space in our minds through just a few moments of meditation to connect with the divine. Years ago, a teacher taught me and a group of others that if we imagined we were like funnels, okay, so here's the top of the funnel up here, and then the stem of the funnel comes down into each and every human being, and where it opens up is the divine oneness. So each of us has access to that. Or as Eric Schiffman would say, get online with big mind, right? Like connecting onto the internet, get online with big mind to make that connection and spend some time there. Everything is out there. And so, in our quiet time of meditation, you may ponder the possibility or the relationship that you currently have with our avatar Jesus, because this is a time of celebrating the wonderful presence that he gave the world. So it goes, Om Shri Yeshu Bhagavate Namaha. 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 So sitting in a comfortable, upright position, observing the flow of your breath, and on the inhalation, you could feel the divine breath of Jesus coming in, and your exhalation going out, commingling with the residual energy of the divine. And whatever the essence that you feel about Jesus now, about his wisdom to travel to India, to study, to know God, the divine, the creator, his source, and to share those teachings with us. What are those feelings? What has shifted, if anything? A new appreciation, perhaps. Just allow yourself a few moments to ponder the life of this man who really devoted his time to share the great teachings of wisdom, of higher knowledge and divine power for those who would be willing to receive. So slowly bring your awareness back to the space. Take in a little deeper breath. And slowly allow your eyes to gently open. I wanted to say that through my pathway of yoga, it was yoga that brought me to a place where I could love Jesus. It wasn't my pathway in the church. And I think that is so interesting for me, that it doesn't matter how you get there or who it is, which avatar it is that calls to you, whatever pathway it is that takes you toward the divine is the one to take. If you can't relate to it, you won't study it or spend time with it. So if it isn't Jesus, if it's Shiva or Durga or Saraswati or Lakshmi or Buddha, or that's the one that's calling you, and that's the one to take to learn more about your divine self and unity with that. Does anyone want to share anything before we close for the evening? I know some people have had to leave already. Feel free to unmute yourself, and thank you everyone for your lovely messages. This is a gift for me too, to be able to share these wonderful teachings and this story. This is, we live in a world of opposites. So it's as soon as it's manifested, anything that's manifested has opposites, right? Light, dark, warm, cold, happy, sad. And so you can choose to believe that Jesus was in India or not, but it's your right to choose, and enjoy researching it because it's fun. There's lots of information out there. And so thank you for allowing me to share this with you. It's just such a lovely story. Are we done? Zena,
Yeah.
please unmute.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to share something that came to me during the meditation. Was in a way Jesus saying, come directly to me. You don't have to go through the scriptures. You don't have to go through other people. Just come directly to me, to my heart.
Absolutely. I love that. That's great. Thank you. You have such beautiful insights, Zena. Of course, a life as a yogi, or a yogini, so that's why.
Been a life for sure. Yeah.
Anyone else get any little epiphany? I know there's so much in the chats. I don't want to. I know, just wonderful. statements on their way out. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. If you have questions, email me. If you don't have my email, it's mugs.mcconnell@gmail.com. That's pretty easy. I can put that in the chat. And sometimes the questions come up in the middle of the night. And so by all means, please send them. I love the questions and they're great. I did want to say, I know that Becky had an announcement, so I'm going to say it now. And essentially, the SOYA retreat is happening. And she hadn't announced it because she was having challenges in finding leadership across the border who didn't want to cross the border. And has finally connected with good leadership for us in Canada. And so that will be announced very soon once a few minor details are handled. It's been a little bit of a challenging process for her. And so thank you for your patience with that, but you shall hear soon from her on that. She asked me to let you know that information. So. Okay, I'd like to close with an Om, and please don't hesitate to email me any questions. I love questions and I do answer them. So, and thank you all immensely for being here tonight with me and sharing with me, and it just brings my heart full of joy. So. We can say our Oms together. Om. Namaste. Thank you.